Hey, hi everybody. Welcome to the Green Festival of San Francisco 2022. I'm Jason Willis, one of the programmers here at the SF Indie Fest. We are very lucky to have a good collection of filmmakers for our shorts program, Absolution. And welcome everybody. Thank you, filmmakers, for being here.
Hi.
Thanks, Jason. Thanks for hosting us.
Thank
Hi.
you for having us.
First off, congratulations. I'm a filmmaker too. I know the challenges of making a movie, period. Very hard. And then you got into our film festival, worthy of watching, and we congratulate you for being in our film festival. Thank you for making a film and being in the film festival. Congrats.
Thanks, Jason.
You're welcome. So real quick for our audiences, just because there's so many of you, real quick, give me your name and your position in the movie, what your role was. Sometimes you have many hats, and the name of your film, real quick, just for our audiences out there. I'll start with you. I'll call you out. Julie, you're first.
I'm Julie Kim, and I directed In Love with the Problem.
Great. And then how about Jules?
I'm Jules, also known as Juliana, and I'm a producer of In Love with the Problem.
In Love with the Problem. Next, I have Jess, and forgive me if I don't have your names because your names may not be up on the screen there, but Jess, you're next, please.
I'm Jess Irish. I'm the director, writer, and producer of This Mortal Plastic.
Great. And who would like to go next? Go ahead, and I'll go with, it's not Ian, but...
Close to. My name's Amberly, and I was the line producer with In Love with the Problem.
Amberly?
Amberly, yes.
Amberly. Thank you. All right, now, Mike, you're next.
So my name is Mike Coggan. I'm the director and producer of the film Rush.
Rush, and you might want to speak up a little bit. You're a little soft on my end here. And then next labeled is Gabriel, but there are two people there. If you could introduce yourselves, please. I'm going to write down your names.
Yes, my name is Gina Lazama, and this is my partner, Gabriel Harvey, and we are both directors and producers of our film, Absolution.
Absolution. Thank you. And last but not least, Beyond Brands. That's definitely not your name.
That would be interesting. I am the producer and acted in Jade and Jaded.
Jade and Jaded. All right. Thanks, everybody. So just randomly, first off, what was the inspiration for your movie? Who'd like to go first? Jade and Jaded. I'll go with you first.
I was actually nannying a 13-year-old for a pretty significant amount of time before I realized her, I say with love and respect, addiction to vlogging and vloggers. And I'm really passionate about kids and teens. And I grew up in the sustainability movement. My mom has been in sustainable fashion since the 90s. So I kind of grew up with the lifestyle surrounding me. And I just thought, like, what is an effective way of entertaining a young person, but actually getting them to think about the problem from the standpoint of like it being integrated into their day-to-day life. So Jade and Jaded is a web comedy about two girls who are trying to make it as health and wellness bloggers. And we make fun of kind of spirituality in the environment, but it's all filmed out of my own apartment. It's filmed in my name is Jade. So it's definitely an animated version of myself, and with that mission in mind.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea and a great way to maybe educate up and coming generations to get them paying attention to, conditions and concerns nowadays. Who'd like to go next?
I'll talk.
Go, Julie. Yeah.
So In Love with the Problem is a film that I directed, and I was just talking to my daughter who was in high school at the time, and she was just telling me about things that she was learning in school, and it seemed very doom and gloomy. And there just seems to be this low grade level of anxiety within their generation. So I just started researching and Googling things about plastic pollution. And I stumbled upon this article about these local teens who discovered a plastic eating bacteria in our Fraser River here in Vancouver. And then I just emailed Miranda, one of the girls or women, and just started this year-long conversation, which then turned into a film and is now in your film festival.
Fantastic. And Jules, how about you?
I'm the producer for In Love with a Problem. And one of the things, so I also have a teenage daughter who is actually friends with Julie's daughter. And that's kind of how this started. And for me, it was just all about, wow, let's present some solutions. Like, yes, we know it's bad. And yes, we know there's lots of plastic, but what can we do? And these two girls that we met, also local, like Julie said, local Vancouver girls, as teenagers, were trying to find a solution, and that was super inspiring. So I was happy to help Julie with this film, and she did an amazing job.
Yeah, very inspiring. It's always great to see teenagers and young people
Yes.
taking leadership in these current problems. Jess, you want to go next?
Sure. I like that teenage girls are now a theme that we're sharing, in addition to plastic, which I know is a theme in a lot of the films in this section. So my film, This Mortal Plastic, was sort of under my skin for a long time. And I had been working on a collaborative project looking at pipeline impacts in the Northeast and trying to find ways to visualize that. And plastic is a part of that. And I chose to kind of take a more philosophical approach, like, what is this stuff? What's its history? And then also, how could we look at it from a sense of time? Because it is a crazy, phenomenon, and it's a miracle as well as now a blight and a huge problem. So, but I would say the inspiration for this was also my teenage daughter, who's in the poster there, who, had this huge passion for the ocean and all of its wonderful creatures since she was a little kid, and kind of taught me everything I now know about marine life. So she was my biggest inspiration.
Fantastic. That's good. That's good that the kids are inspiring us to be active and taking part themselves. Mike, you also have a lead person in your movie that's cleaning up plastic.
Yeah, absolutely. We live on the south coast of England, and it's just a beautiful area, and is only spoiled by like the plastic, the waves after waves of plastic that wash up on the shore. And so our film is about a chap who is single-handedly is taking truckloads of plastic out of the ocean. He spends all day, every day, doing it and organizing beach cleans. And we talk a little bit about also some of like the mental health implications and that anxiety, like you've touched upon in your films as well.
So what inspired you? Did you meet him and then say this has?
Yeah, he's absolutely. Yeah, he was local to us, and I saw he was doing a huge charity swim, and we were sort of desperate to get in touch because, yeah, we just thought that everything was kind of there, and we just wanted to kind of get in touch with and see who he kind of was under the, sort of behind all the big ocean cleanups and the swims and things like that, and see who was the person, the core of our subject, who was Ollie Rush.
Fantastic. And the Absolution team, did you go to Mardi Gras or something and you saw all this? It's like, who picks this up?
Yeah, our film showcases the purification ritual of our city, our home city of New Orleans, Louisiana. And being from here and going to Mardi Gras parades our whole lives, we've understood that everyone has a preconceived notion of what Mardi Gras is like, but maybe a lot of people don't see this well choreographed dance that happens behind the scene after all of the parades every night and all of the parades every day. And so we've always been very interested in videography, photography, playing with frame rates, setting it to music. And so we really wanted to showcase the work that the team does here in that process. It's very eye-opening. You see a lot of our plastic, as we were talking about earlier, with our beads, electric LED throws, all of that, chairs, ice chests, all of that gets picked up in these huge bundles at the end of every night. And so it's a huge testament to a process that our city has right, but we did want to shed a light on the themes that are going on with that.
How long of a time period or time span was that short? Is that 24 hours or is that overnight? Or
we shot it over 4 years, actually.
It's 4 years worth of footage from Mardi Gras parades. So after the parades, post up, put the camera on light posts, street posts, fences, everywhere. Almost got hit a few times to get all of our different shots.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't realize that Mardi Gras is, it's not Mardi Gras is a day, but carnival season lasts for weeks. Okay. And so there are parade after parade after parade. And so we have a lot of opportunity to see this thing. And that's why you kind of get a little bit of the repetition within it, because the scale of it is something we're trying to give people an idea of. It's huge. And really the part that we saw really is only the tip of the iceberg.
And so, these were your inspirations for making this movie. What's, and anyone can answer at any time, what's the feeling you hope audiences take from this? Maybe feeling or information, or what's the takeaway you want audiences to come away with?
I hope they're motivated, to be part of the solution. Like maybe they want to investigate further. Maybe they want to look at what's happening in their garbage in their home. Maybe they'll take a second glance or rethink maybe what they're doing.
Yeah, I like that. Yes. Take a second look at your garbage. Look what you're throwing away. For sure. I mean, we need to start thinking that way. And then ultimately what you purchase too. But I don't want to interrupt. So what else are the takeaways other filmmakers want audiences to have?
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, we want people to think more mindfully of what they're holding and using. And, but also, it's a much bigger concern that is systemic. And one of the things I thought about so much when I was making mine was like, how is this stuff, like the root of the word plastic is to shape or mold. And they didn't even know like what to call it when it was first invented, but like it's shaping us. It's shaping everything that we expect and that we like kind of desire or want, whether we need it or not. So I think now, like in the pandemic, it's been a really important time for people to kind of rethink, what's most important to me? How do I want to engage with the world? And I'm sort of, hoping that it's also a time where we can think, in terms of what we're using. Do we really need this in every single instance that we're seeing it manifest? Because I think we all know maybe we don't. Maybe we can walk back from that.
Yeah,
well,
there's going to be enough time to talk about what the implications of all this is in this short program here. But yeah, raising good questions. Who else wanted to go next?
Yeah, I think
I'll
go really quickly. Thanks. Sorry. I think for our piece, we really did want to highlight the huge amount of manpower that is required for some of these cleansing and cleanup processes. I feel like sometimes these folks are unsung heroes. My father works in the disposal and recycling industry my whole life. So I've always been very aware of the hours involved and all of the manpower. And so we really wanted to showcase that sometimes these unseen forces are behind the clean streets. And so we really wanted to shed that light on there.
Nice. I was going to share just with ours, because our two female leads, they discovered the plastic eating bacteria when they were in high school. And so like a huge takeaway can not only be like, what are the changes we can do after seeing this, as Jules pointed out, but what can the kids of today do? Like there's so much capacity, there's so much ingenuity, like there's so much ways that you could nurture and grow so many of these young minds to just do so much good. And so that's a big takeaway of hopefully there's just that little seed of inspiration to some young girl or young boy.
Yeah, I could talk to you guys, each one of you, more about your films individually, but time won't allow it. I love that quote in your movie, whatever the high school counselor teacher said. Remember, I loved when he said, high school kids are smarter than we think, or don't take them for granted, something like that. What was the quote? Right, but he's like, these kids are very bright. It's like, don't take them for granted. I do think
I know the scene. I know the teacher. Oh my God. Yes, that's it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And, I think the hope of our future is, the future generations. Like, we should have this taught and these films shown in classrooms, Who else? Takeaways?
Yeah, on that, in the spirit of that, and on that note, changing the world should be fun. And I think that more often than not, in just my experience of working directly with teenagers and kids, there is this sense, I think, Julie, you said that, like, there's just this sense of overwhelm, this immediate overwhelm. And I think that the more we can embrace like this, in a very real way, like, let's make changing the world something that's exciting to you. And what does that look like? And so starting to ask kids that question of like, what is a creative and fun way that you can actually make a difference in the world? Because that then is a domino effect from an individual standpoint of going, oh, I have a positive association to changing the world, and now I want to continue doing that, versus like, I'm overwhelmed and never want to try again.
Yeah, and I think your idea, the web series, webisodes, or a sitcom, if you will, even regarding the environment or the planet, is you're onto something there for the future. The way to get it out in a fun way, the message out in a fun way.
I'm made fun of all the time in an Earth I'm wearing an Earth costume all the time, so it's like laughing at yourself and being able to bring people on.
Anyone else? What they want audiences to?
Yeah, sure. I'll go. So I think that sometimes the mountain that we have to climb in terms of the fight against plastic pollution can be quite overwhelming, and you can just feel so helpless when you can just think, well, I'm just one person, what difference can I make? And I think what we wanted people to take away from our film is that when you actually accumulate a few years worth of activity, it's actually pretty staggering what one single person can kind of do over a longer time period.
Yeah, we have to remind ourselves of that too, because there's often days, I'm sure each one of you have felt this, where it's just like, I can't make it different. My little, turn the water off sooner, or recycling this piece of garbage, that doesn't make a difference. But on a larger scale, if everyone did that, it's huge.
Huge.
Yeah. So what's the process of making an environmental film? I'm a narrative filmmaker. So did you concern yourself with like logistics? How is producing, a documentary environmental film? Is it challenging? What were some challenges? Well, Mike, I'll keep going with you, because underwater or water cinematography, aerial shots, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we were filming, we had a big camera on a paddleboard. It was very precarious situations at some points in order to get the right kind of shots that we wanted to get. But yeah, we absolutely as well, we made sure that the process of filmmaking was, quite sustainable itself. And we were always taking out bags with us and doing litter picks whilst we were filming, and just kind of making sure we brought that into like the ethos of the production as well. Had some fun with it.
Good. Other challenges for any of you? Any permitting requirements? Any resistance? The Mortal Plastic, that was quite clever, well done, wonderful, informative film. A lot of different production techniques. Any challenges?
Yeah, well, I feel like my biggest challenge in doing it was like, how do I make this stuff interesting? Like, it doesn't seem interesting at all. And also when you start researching, you're like, what is, like, it's kind of, you hit a wall pretty quickly. If you're not a polymer engineer. Sorry?
Were you the writer as well?
The writer, yeah. So I spent a long time researching, and at some point I just had to say, okay, I think I know enough, and I'm just gonna make this from the point of view of a consumer. That's enough. Like, I'm not a chemical engineer, I'm not a polymer engineer. That's not the point of the film. The point of the film is to kind of take wonder and to really take this long view and a wide view of the whole production. And so I don't know, for me, like, how to make it interesting ended up being personal. I made it during the pandemic, and my mother, it was the last few months of her life, and I look at it from the span of a human lifetime. I mean, she was born in 1940, and just in one human lifetime, we've gone from literally nothing to like, we have to have beach cleanups and bacteria, like, we don't even know what to do with it. It's crazy. So
was your mom, I'm just curious, just a little bit of a tangent, was your mom, her generation, and any of your parents, the participants here, were they aware of like recycling? I can't remember my parents, not that they're inconsiderate or unaware people, but it just wasn't part of their knowledge of this kind of recycling, you know, and having that lifestyle. How about you guys? Was your mom, Jess, was she aware
She
of
was
what?
actually really, she was actually a minister, and she was really into the environment, and always spoke to that being a goal that we need to take on as humans, that this is a gift, like our planet, this beautiful environment. But she wasn't like an recycling nerd or anything like that.
Yeah. Well, I think
The ethos, yes.
Yeah, we're the first generation that's being educated on the environment and recycling. I think other generations just been taught to be consumers, how to consume, right? I don't know if
And don't even think about it. It's designed so we don't think about it. And it's also designed not to recycle. That's why recycling doesn't work. Like there's too many types. So it's a false narrative that we're being given from manufacturers for their profit. They're not doing the cost of business, of the cleanup and et cetera. So anyway,
so
I could
true,
go on and on.
Jess. So true. Yes.
Others want to chime in about what we're talking about or the challenges of making their movie?
My mom trademarked eco fashion in the 90s. And so I grew up as like the weird kid. And I was always eating really healthy, and I was always recycling, and I was always like looking at all of these things as normal. And all of my friends around me were like, but my mom was definitely someone who was with no ego, just someone who like really spearheaded this movement in that specific industry. And so I just remember growing up and being looked at as like, why are you recycling? So I do see there's this like trajectory towards an evolved consciousness, but there's still behaviorally a little bit of a lack and a laziness to what we're starting to see as normal.
Right. Other people, challenges making their movie.
I would say it was a bit of a challenge. We had to approach like the transfer station here in Vancouver, which is basically a huge dump. And it's like, we want to come in with a drone and we want to see how terrible this is. So we had to be careful how we wanted to like, approach that in a positive way to get permission.
Were they forthcoming with, were they generous with permission, if you will?
I think we presented it like we want to talk about solutions, and we want to like, and we get that, things are way better and you guys are doing a great job, but like, it was a bit of a negotiation. I don't know, Amberly, like, do you remember any kind of other weird things like, oh, we want to go, we're doing like a documentary about plastic and we want to like come to your plastic factory?
I would say the transfer station, besides going through the bureaucracy of everything, like they're pretty good with actually supporting what we wanted. But I would say I would feel the bigger challenge, especially when you're doing films that are about green mentality and how can we move forward, how can we do better, or like fix things from the past. Like our own film industry isn't very green. So even if we're trying to do the little things that we can that are like in our control, when you're still thinking about equipment and the bringing in different vendors, like LED lights are not a thing in Vancouver, but that is technically a greener solution versus using lights that could be generated by gas and diesel. So there's things, I guess, that were more highlight of, you want to be green and you want to support a greener initiative, but the groups you bring in to make these wonderful stories come to life, you don't find them yet. And maybe that's just our experience in Vancouver, but.
Yeah, well, it also seems like, recycling and refuse and all that management of waste it's a secret, it's behind the scenes. And they don't want us to see it. I mean, it's not a pleasant thing. Who wants to see it, right? I mean, just want it to be taken care of. But I think we do have to have it kind of visible to us, so we are participants in the solution, Are you guys dedicated green filmmakers in the sense, like, is your next project gonna be? Was your project before about environment, waste, stuff like that? Who's a green?
I'm always on the hunt for a good environment, climate change story to produce. So always on the hunt.
Cool. Who else? or are you making other things besides environmentally conscious films?
Yeah, I'll go. I've got we've got a commercial video business, and that plants trees for every commercial project that it shoots. So it's kind of been something that we've always been keen to do anyway. And you know, the content's there to be told, and there's a real purpose for it. So it's something that we're really interested in still doing.
So when you make a commercial, you plant a tree?
Yeah, we plant sort of up to 100 trees for every like full video shoot we do. Obviously, we can't be absolutely perfect and absolute in terms of how our cameras are made and where they're from. And we're a very small business, so we haven't been able to track that process down to the right degree. But I mean, it's a start, and it's something.
Yeah, it is something.
Awesome.
Yeah. I'll start off by saying that at the onset of this project, which, like we've already said, we've had 4 years of footage of all this cleanup. We did not intend for it to be a green film. We did not necessarily know the reach of this film, whether it would translate outside of New Orleans or not, whether or not you've seen Mardi Gras. So we have found that after a couple of screenings that it is a huge takeaway, and it is a very clear message of what is being portrayed in front of you with the large amounts that the film shows, that we have now understood that that is a true theme of the movie that we are really looking forward to exploring. And we're really honored to have been accepted by this film festival that is focusing on this, along with these other films that really all tie together really nicely.
Who else? What's in their future here as far as green fests or green films?
Just spreading knowledge, right? Spreading information, spreading as much as we can, right? Without, ruining the dinner party. But
yeah. So it's funny when, programming, watching all these movies, I gotta kind of watch during the daytime, if you will. I can't always watch right before bed because it'll affect my sleep sometimes. You know what I mean?
It's hard. It's hard. It can be depressing. And I found after working on this, I wanted to just like get off the computer and like make paintings. And so I'm doing these little paintings of plankton, since they feature also, which they're like these unsung heroes that nobody ever like recognizes them for the wonderful work that they do for all of us. But yeah, I think for me, green is like an orientation that affects me just in my life, what I aspire to, and then also the work I do in education. So whether it's intentionally green or not, a film is secondary to like the overall orientation of like how you interface with the world and other communities.
Yeah, but I do think you guys are all like in the right direction with making films enjoyable, if you will, even though they're hard or heavy, messages. The way we're going to access a wider audience with these types of messages is on a more fun level, if you will, or entertaining level. For sure. Do you guys have any questions or comments for each other before we start wrapping this up?
I want to say congratulations to all the filmmakers. These are all exciting stories. I look forward to seeing them.
They are.
Yeah, very kind. Congratulations to
So,
you as well.
So then, if for the last question, then, if you had one kind of parting phrase for your audiences, what would you want to leave with? Besides, thank you, but that's fine too. Julie, do you have anything you want to say to audiences? Your film is very inspiring. I was very happy to see two young women, teenagers at the time, just doing good. It was uplifting.
Yeah, they check a lot of boxes. They're female, they're scientists, they're making change, they're creating solutions, they're being positive. And that's kind of like the overall thing that we wanted. And what I walked away with was that it's just starting with your thinking, like the circular economy. So if we start with our youth and they start thinking in that way in whatever field that they're studying, it could be science, it could be math, it could be media. I feel like that was the message for me in the film, is just the way we think.
Our
So instead
mindset.
of like
Yeah.
going from the process of mining unrenewable resources and then throwing them away, going back to like the women are doing, going back to garbage and trying to upscale it or reuse it.
Yeah. Well, another underlying theme I took from this this program was that everyone kind of, the answer starts with them taking action, the individual taking action. And I'm the same mind frame. Like, I get rid of this and someone else will clean it up or take care of it. Not that I'm inconsiderate, but I'm always thinking like there's someone else, but it starts with us. With young teenagers, the swimmer, you know, Jade and Jaded, whatever. We have to be involved ourselves.
We want to be part of the solution. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And that there is hope.
There is hope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other parting messages to your audiences and to the viewers out there?
I'll jump in with, since I do think that plastics, we have to look at it from the source, right? These are fossil fuels that we dig up from millions of years ago. And, you know, they afford us a lot, as do fossil fuels that allow us to travel and do, you know, stay warm and all that kind of stuff. However, now we're in this crisis of climate change, and people don't normally talk about plastics as climate change, but that literally is. And it has the same problems. Like, it's because it is so useful and helpful and powerful. That's why it's so hard to walk back. It's not because it's bad. So there isn't this like binary where there's like, it's all bad. It has afforded us, like the planet, a lot of really amazing benefits. It's gotten people out of dire poverty. It's allowed people to get education, etc. However, you know, it's too much. So just having that bigger view of like, we're actually really dealing with ancient artifacts that have incredible power. And just to have a little bit of like awe for that, I think is kind of needed, rather than only seeing it as like, oh, this is just trash, you know, because it's a lot more than that, in my opinion.
Agreed.
Yeah, and
So
I
true.
think one lasting note that I want to say about our film is that I don't want people to watch it and think that all hope is lost and that our city is full of sinners throwing trash on the streets. You know, we hopefully films like ours and yours can show that we want those piles of trash to get smaller, and we are seeing some movements with some Mardi Gras crews in town really try to biodegradable throws, handmade throws, even just throwing fruit. So that way we could still get some of the fun and games that come from experiencing a parade, but without the detrimental costs.
Yeah, we always want to keep the kind of humans centered. You know, we can talk about these things like in real abstract terms sometimes, but I always want to talk about like, you know, how does this actually affect people, you know, other people, future generations, ourselves now, how does this actually affect us? And always keeping that, you know, front and center at all times.
Good point.
Yeah, I suppose from our film, we'd like to, you know, I think we were keen to give a message about how, you know, climate anxiety it seems to be such a huge thing among, especially some of the younger generations around today, and it is very overwhelming. And to, you know, take time and communicate that with your friends and family, rather than just like our character in our movie was doing, our subject. He was just relentlessly trying to pick up plastic, and his life was falling apart because of it. And what he needed to do was get himself together and collect his thoughts together and communicate with people before he actually went back out there and started trying to fix the planet.
Fantastic. Well, we got to wrap this up. Congratulations to all of you. Thank you for making your movies, for inspiring us to pay attention, at the very least, of the world around us, in particular, like plastic and cleanup. But congratulations, and good luck to you and your future filmmaking endeavors with these films. And thanks for submitting to our festival.
Thanks so much for having
Well,
us.
thank you,
Thank you.
Jason. Thanks for the,
Films.
yes.
And
And thanks,
yeah,
Jason. Thanks to the
Thank you.
San Francisco Green Festival for recognizing
Yay.
the importance of these films.
you're very welcome.
Thank you.
And stay green. Keep up the good fight.
Very much.
All right.
Congratulations, everyone.
Thank you.
Congrats.
Thanks.
Bye.